Greetings from Wisdom Words, a peaceful place to pause and reflect. One story at a time, we examine timeless teachings about life, serenity, and purpose here. So, pause, inhale, and let's get started. Sometimes, individuals walk out of your life silently. No warning. No resolution. Simply said, distance grows a little bit every day until you wake up one morning and discover they're gone. You're left wondering what went wrong. What you did wrong. Or if they were ever as concerned as you were. It is peculiar, isn't it? How someone may be so important to you and then just disappear. Here is the unspoken reality, though. Your narrative is not over just because they don't say anything. It's frequently the start of a new one, the phase in which you begin to develop. You are forced to confront aspects of yourself that you have been ignoring when someone departs without saying goodbye. The loneliness. The misunderstanding. The anguish of not having answers. It feels intolerable at first. You relive previous exchanges in an attempt to uncover hints in their words that could account for the distance. Perhaps I spoke too much, you think. Or perhaps I wasn't sufficient. However, there are instances when there is no logical explanation. People depart based on where they are, not on who you are. They're waging conflicts you can't see. And they simply vanish without providing an explanation. Allow me to introduce you to Mia. She had a friend named Alex, whom she had total faith in. They laughed over nothing, discussed everything, and spoke every day. Then Alex stopped responding one day. Avoid fights. No drama. Nothing but quiet. Mia initially believed it to be short-term. She called, texted, and checked in, but nobody answered. As the weeks stretched into months, she realized he was not returning. Something inside her was broken by that quiet. But with time, she sensed something else, a silent shift. She began keeping a journal. She learned to sit with her thoughts rather than run away from them, and she went on long walks by herself. And during those times, she came to a profound realization. She was getting better because she stopped waiting for Alex to return, not because he did. When we stop expecting closure from individuals who never meant to provide it, we mature. Because you have to work for closure, it's not something they give you. Maybe the goodbye you never got was simply a lesson in acceptance. A lesson that not everyone who enters your life is destined to stay. Some folks are simply chapters, not the complete story. That is difficult to accept. We're looking for answers. We seek logical conclusions. But sometimes we learn from stillness in life. Consider this, perhaps you would have pleaded with them to stay if they had said goodbye. Perhaps you would have continued to cling to something that wasn't intended for you. Their stillness, awful as it was, became the space you needed to grow. A man by the name of Daniel once remarked, "I felt like my world had ended the day she walked away silently. However, I also started living for myself on that day." He used to try to be the person that other people required him to be. He had no one left to serve once she went, and that emptiness made him realize his true self. He began writing in a notebook, traveled alone, and learned to cook. Years later, he claimed, "I realized she didn't leave me behind. It was sufficient that she simply left me alone." Take a moment to think. Who departed from your life without bidding you farewell? What did you learn from that silence? Did it demonstrate your strength? Or how intense your emotions may be, even when no one is around to comprehend them? Getting answers doesn't always lead to improvement. It comes from learning to live without them. Perhaps the farewell you never received was actually a boon, because it encouraged you to pursue peace, independence, and self-respect. It taught you to give up trying to find an explanation. You began constructing your own. And perhaps, just possibly, you came to the realization that not all stories must conclude with a discussion. Some tales have a tranquil conclusion. And that's all right. The individuals who departed without bidding farewell. Compared to those who stayed, they taught you more. They told you that even when your heart stops beating, life continues to move. You learned that power is quiet, not loud. It's the kind of strength you feel when you smile again despite the pain in your chest. And when you look back, you'll see Their quiet didn't shatter you. It assisted you in becoming a person who can heal without the need of words. Therefore, if someone departed from your life without saying farewell, peacefully let them go. Because their absence teaches you a lesson, not a loss. They weren't lost. You were located. We'll discuss ways to regain trust after being abandoned in the upcoming chapter, and how to reopen your heart without worrying about getting harmed. Stay with me, then. Breathe. Together, we will navigate this situation. It hurts more than just your feelings when someone goes without saying goodbye. It erodes your confidence. You begin to question whether everyone will depart in the end. If all promises are provisional, it goes beyond simply losing that individual. It's about shedding the aspect of yourself that readily believes in others. Trust is brittle. It is gradually developed via care, honesty, and constancy. However, it seems impossible to rebuild once it's shattered. Because safety feels better than hope, you begin to defend yourself against everyone, including the wonderful ones. I'm okay by myself, you convince yourself. And that feels real for a time. However, you secretly long for the sense of belonging that gives life purpose. Opening your heart to others is not the first step in restoring trust. It's about regaining confidence in your own judgment, intuition, and capacity for kindness in the face of suffering. Consider Emma. She vowed never to let anyone in again after her best friend abruptly ceased communicating with her. She started to be cautious, courteous, far away. She did, however, meet a new coworker one day who was patient, polite, and truly interested in her. Emma felt herself draw away each time that individual attempted to approach. She simply didn't know how, not because she didn't want to trust again. She wrote something straightforward in her journal one evening. I don't want to experience that kind of silence again, so I'm afraid to be open. And the beginning of her recovery was that candor, that tiny admission. Because the instant you identify what you're terrified of, healing starts. Rebuilding trust will be impossible if you continue to act as though you are unharmed. Before you can clean the wound, you must address it. Furthermore, hiding a wound doesn't make it go away. Give it time, light, and air, and it will mend. How can one regain trust, then? Begin by taking care of yourself. Have faith in your ability to cope with disappointment. That you are resilient enough to endure loss without losing your tenderness. Because even if it doesn't work out, you may still care a lot. In actuality, each time you reopen, you demonstrate to yourself that you have overcome your past. Allow me to introduce you to Mark. After 10 years of marriage, his wife abruptly left him with no warning or explanation. Simply gone. For months, he pondered why. He questioned everything, placed the responsibility on himself, and vowed never to fall in love again. But when a new person entered his life years later, he made the decision to give it a shot, slowly. I don't know how to do this anymore, he informed her. Then let's learn together, she added. His agony persisted after that. However, it served as a reminder to him that trust develops gradually and subtly. Through steadfast individuals, deeds that align with words, and the bravery to try again. Finding someone who won't ever hurt you isn't the goal of rebuilding trust. It's about having the guts to think that even if they do, you'll be all right. Because you no longer require assurances from other people when you have faith in yourself. You give up looking for confirmation. You begin to live in peace because you know that you will deal with any situation that arises. Thus, ask yourself, what would happen if you bravely and not blindly allowed yourself to trust again? What if you began to view vulnerability as a strength rather than a weakness? Because regaining trust does not imply ignoring what has transpired. It entails having faith that there are still decent individuals, generous hearts, and second chances in the world. Yes, you have experienced hurt before. You have, however, previously recovered. This implies that you can recover once again. Your heart scars are evidence that you endured and loved profoundly. There's no need to feel guilty about that. You should be proud of that. Therefore, when a new person enters your life and you feel like running, stop. Breathe. Remember that this individual is not the one who departed. Additionally, you have changed from who you were then. You've gained strength, You've gained wisdom. Trust does not imply that the suffering is forgotten. It indicates that you have decided to leave it as your home. Months after meeting that benevolent coworker, Emma once again wrote in her journal, "I still get frightened occasionally. However, I came to the realization that when I trusted again, the world did not end. It grew larger." The fact about trust is that it broadens your perspective. Fear keeps it small. The individuals who departed without bidding you farewell may have temporarily betrayed your trust. However, they did not take away your power to reconstruct it. You are the only one who can give that away and get it back. Thus, begin with yourself. Have faith in your timing. Have faith in your own abilities. Have faith that you will eventually find someone who will not cause you to doubt your value. Until then, continue to grow. Continue to believe. Allow light to enter your heart by keeping it slightly open. We'll discuss how to forgive in the upcoming chapter, not so that you can reintegrate, but so that you can release yourself. Because they are not worthy of pardon. It's for your tranquility. Stay with me, then. The healing process is drawing nearer. Forgiveness. It's among the most difficult things we will ever have to do, particularly if the one who wronged us never expressed regret. When they left you with all the shattered pieces and departed without saying anything or offering any closure. "I've moved on," you tell yourself. You remain occupied. You grin. However, there is still a silent pain in the back of your mind, a question that was never addressed. And occasionally, they are no longer the focus of that pain. It concerns you. Because you are not protected if you hang on to your pain for too long. It just helps you stay in touch with the person who released you. Saying that what they did was acceptable is not the same as forgiveness. You don't have to greet their return. It just indicates that you're sick of carrying the burden of what they left behind. It's putting peace above resentment. Freedom from bitterness. Restoring the past. Allow me to introduce you to Sarah. She once experienced a profound love that transforms everything. Then he disappeared one morning without saying anything. No phone call. No farewell. Nothing but quiet. She spent months trying to figure out why. She went over every discussion and memory again, trying to pinpoint the exact moment that things went wrong. She searched for years without finding a solution. Rather, she discovered fatigue. She sat by herself on her balcony one evening and muttered to herself, "I pardon you. I deserve to be able to breathe again, not because you deserve it." She also slept soundly for the first time in years. That is the true meaning of forgiveness, a release. Not of the individual, but of the burden you've been bearing ever since they departed. It takes quiet courage to forgive someone who has never expressed regret. It's telling me that I won't let my peace be defined by your silence. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. Your decision to cease revisiting what broke you shows strength. Because you experience the hurt each time you harbor anger. However, you begin to feel lighter once you let it go, really let it go. Consider this. What if you don't even extend forgiveness to them? What if you offer it to yourself as a gift? In actuality, the individual who caused you pain may have since moved on. They may not even recall their actions. You're still carrying it, though. They continue to occupy a place in your heart that they no longer merit. I was once informed by a man named Lucas. I felt like I was losing the last remnant of her when I forgave her. But after a while, I understood that it was the only way to regain my identity. He wasn't erasing the past by forgiving. In order to recover his present, he was forgiving. And it's important to keep in mind that forgiveness doesn't change your past. It simply alters the conclusion. Consider this. Who do you still harbor within yourself? Long after they have ceased thinking about you, who are you still at odds with in your mind? And above all, if you just stopped, what would happen? If you stated, "I release this," and put the weight down. "I'm finished." Would everything collapse? Or would everything come together at last? Forgiveness isn't necessarily loud or dramatic, you see. It can be quiet at times. It's opting to stop looking at their profile when you're in your room. That old message thread is being deleted, not out of rage but rather out of acceptance. It's deciding not to repeat the same tale of how they repeatedly harmed you. Forgiveness in its purest form is that. It's about liberation, not forgetting. The good news is that forgiveness takes time to develop. It occurs in waves. There will be days when you feel totally liberated. It's acceptable for the anguish to resurface on other days. The process of healing is not linear. However, each time you decide to choose peace over resentment, you're moving further away from what caused you pain, and another step in the direction of your future self. I'll never forget what a woman once told me. She said, I have forgiven him to make amends with myself, not to make amends with him. She was sick of getting up in a rage. I'm sick of focusing more on her past than her present. And she released herself in that honest moment. Forgiveness is powerful because it isn't about the other person. It's about putting an end to your own pain. Thus, perhaps the moment has come. Perhaps it's time to quit speculating about their departure and begin to express gratitude for the lesson, not for the suffering. Because they demonstrated to you what it's like to endure heartbreak. They demonstrated the true strength of your heart. And you did, even if they never returned. Quietly pardon them. Give them your whole forgiveness. Not because they merited it, but because you are more deserving of serenity than you are of explanations. And when you let go at last, you'll understand. You weren't moving on with them because you were forgiving them. You were giving them permission to go on without them. We'll look at finding purpose in loss in the upcoming chapter. Ways to transform heartache into knowledge. Turn suffering into meaning. Thus, inhale deeply. You've previously reached this point. The most difficult portion is nearly over. Loss transforms you. Not just your thoughts, but also your feelings, your perspective on the world, and your level of trust. It seems like a part of your story ends in the middle when someone goes without saying goodbye. Asking inquiries is not permitted. You are not allowed to end the chapter. All you can do is stare at the empty space they left and wonder how to fill it. And initially, that void is intolerable. But as time passes, you come to understand something significant. The area they left behind isn't simply vacant. It's accessible. It's a location where new things can develop. What you lost doesn't give you meaning. It stems from the lessons you took away from the loss. You cannot alter the past. However, you can now determine what it means to you. You could allow it to harden you. Alternately, you could allow it to mold you into a more compassionate, astute, and perceptive person. Allow me to introduce you to Rachel. She lost her best friend to distance rather than death. They were strangers one day and inseparable the next. Don't fight. No cause. Nothing but quiet. Rachel felt hollow for months. She was unable to appreciate the music they used to share. She didn't go where they used to go. She was reminded of what was lost by everything. However, she discovered something one afternoon when looking through old pictures. Despite all the suffering, that friendship had taught her how to be present, listen, and love sincerely. Shutting her eyes, she muttered, "Perhaps that is what you were supposed to teach me." The discomfort persisted after that moment. However, it provided it with a purpose. And it's purpose that turns heartache into development. If you're prepared to look for it, every loss has a lesson to teach you. Some people come into your life to teach you the meaning of love. People come to teach you the value of self-respect. And some just show up to remind you that you can get through anything. Even the sound of silence. Perhaps they have nothing to do with the significance of your loss. Perhaps it has to do with you. About your personal development along the process. About the strength you didn't realize you possessed, the empathy you've found, and the patience you've acquired. Because sometimes suffering shows who you are rather than changing you. Adam was a man who once remarked, "I felt like I had lost everything when she went. But I started writing again after losing her." As a coping mechanism, he started journaling. Subsequently, his remarks began to assist others experiencing similar losses. "If she hadn't left, I might never have found my purpose," he added. And that's what it looks like to find meaning. Transforming something unpleasant into something that makes other people happy. Thus, ask yourself, What did you learn from your suffering? What aspect of yourself developed as a result of your losses? Did it increase your empathy? More conscious of oneself? More cautious around those who really matter? Loss no longer feels like an end when you begin to view it that way. Instead, it becomes a metamorphosis. In actuality, not all endings are tragic. Even though it doesn't seem like it yet, some endings are actually soft beginnings. You may not notice it right now. However, each individual who departs creates room for someone or something that complements your evolving self. Your tale is not diminished by loss. It enlarges it. The question, why did they leave, will never go away. Alternatively, you could begin by asking, what did I discover after they did? Because you're locked in the past because of one question. You advance with the other. Pain is not eliminated by meaning. However, it provides it with guidance. Things enable you to handle things gracefully rather than angrily. According to one woman, she began planting flowers in her backyard after her partner left without saying anything. She remarked, "Every seed I plant reminds me that something broken can still grow into something beautiful." And healing is precisely that. Creating something lovely in addition to the agony, without forgetting it. Pretending to be all right is not the same as finding meaning in loss. It entails making the decision to grow nonetheless. Even when it seems unfair, to discover brightness. It's acknowledging that life continues to exist. And you may still influence how the plot unfolds. You learn something from those who departed. Perhaps they taught you the skill of letting go, love, or patience. However, your entire book is not defined by their chapter. You do. And one day, when you look back, you'll discover that your narrative didn't finish with their absence. That's when you began writing your own. We'll discuss letting go of grudges in the upcoming chapter. How to carry the lessons rather than the suffering. And how to reopen your heart to love, life, and fresh starts. Thus, inhale. More than you realize, you're doing well. Let's continue. You have to come to terms with the fact that you cannot continue to live in the past. You've seen it enough times already. You have addressed every possible query. And the conclusion remains unchanged. Therefore, it's time to proceed. Not by forgetting. Not by acting as though it wasn't painful. But by putting peace before resentment. Because deleting the past isn't the goal of healing. It's all about learning to accept it with grace. At first, bitterness feels secure. It gives you a sense of strength, as if you're defending yourself against future harm. However, the same tortured heart still waits for peace beneath that armor. If you continue to harbor bitterness, you will never be able to move on. It is impossible to start a new life while contemplating the remains of your previous one. You will eventually have to put everything down. The rage. The responsibility. The what ifs. It's not something you do for them. For yourself, you do it. For years, Ethan suppressed his rage. He had a friend he called a brother who abruptly left. Though he seemed not to care, it consumed him on the inside. Every accomplishment and every happiness was overshadowed by that one loss he was unable to get over. He jotted down in his journal one evening, "I believed that being angry would protect me, but all it has done is keep me stranded." He made the decision to let it go that evening. There was no message from him. He didn't require resolution. He simply decided to stop allowing the past to control his tranquility. And everything changed when that choice was made. You don't stop caring when you let go. It indicates that you have stopped carrying. You begin to fully and honestly show up for yourself once more. You begin to be there for the person who stayed, who is you, instead of waiting for the one who departed. Because you create room for better things when you let go of your bitterness. New starts, new love, and new connections that aren't hampered by past hurt. Consider this. What might be the cause of your inaction to date? Is because you still have a part of you that wants to win? To demonstrate something? To show them the things they've lost? However, demonstrating a point does not lead to peace. It's the realization that you have nothing more to prove. The hardest part, when they went, is already behind you. The rest is about finding joy again. As Lila used to say, I believed that I would never trust again. However, I eventually resumed talking about the things I love when I stopped discussing how much he wounded me. She started painting. Not to get away, but to remind herself that there was still beauty in the world. And that's what it looks like going forward. Not hurrying, not acting, but subtly rearranging your life to revolve around what makes you feel calm. The bitterness is strong. It exhausts you. It keeps you stuck in situations that aren't worth your energy anymore. When you release it, you'll experience an unexpected sensation of lightness. You are no longer fighting the agony, not because it has disappeared. You've agreed to it. You've gained knowledge from it. You've come to terms with it. That is the sensation of freedom. Thus, ask yourself, what burdens do you still bear that no longer benefit you? When it's silent, whose name still rings in your mind? And how would it feel to put it down at last? To forgive, not for their sake, but to allow yourself to move on from the past? Because as soon as you cease requiring their understanding, you start to comprehend who you are. Finding the person who harmed you and asking why is not the goal of healing. It's about rediscovering who you are when they're gone. And when you do, you discover something straightforward yet potent. To start over, you didn't need to say goodbye to them. I once heard a man say, "I felt like my life was coming to an end when she departed. She recently left a chapter that was never intended to stay forever, as I can now see." He had lost his bitterness. He was appreciative, because her departure created room for growth, tranquility, and safe love. You can live your entire life hoping they'll return. You can also continue walking after giving them a silent thank you for the lecture. You are moving closer to freedom with each step you take without resentment. After a heartbreak, every grin you find is evidence that you're getting better. Thus, proceed cautiously. Keep the lessons in mind. Get away from the suffering. Your ability to let go has improved. You've regained your trust. You've gained the ability to forgive. It's time to live now. Keep this in mind. They departed without saying farewell. However, that's how you developed. Not without them, but in your choice to overcome it. And that's the beginning of true strength. We appreciate you listening to Wisdom Words, a peaceful place to pause and reflect. If this message resonated with you, pause to think, breathe. Always keep in mind that stillness is frequently the first step toward improvement. Till the next time. Look after your heart. Despite everything it's been through, it continues to beat for better times to come.